Did you see that Cluely was in the Wall Street Journal?
No way.
Yeah. So, and in part of a trend piece on clipping that I thought was kind of interesting. We do some clipping here. We clip on X. We create TikToks. We create Instagrams. We create Reels. All sorts of stuff. But the Wall Street Journal is breaking down the trends and all the big money behind those bite-sized social media videos. Companies are hiring clippers to flood TikTok and Instagram with short promotional videos. And one of the examples here is 1X, which we've had on the show as well. Cluely, we've also had on the show. And Nothing, we've also had on the show. 3 for 3 with the CEOs of the companies that are using clipping to their benefit. So, you know those buzzy viral clips you see on social media? There's an army behind them. Kanoa Cunningham is among the ranks of video-savvy young clippers who help streamers, podcasts, and startups expand their audiences by making buzzy moments go viral on social media. Cunningham edits down clients' long-form videos into short clips and then posts the shorts on sites like Instagram and TikTok. It is lucrative work. In May, Cunningham quit his finance job and now runs a team of 8 clippers. He said the operation earns him $20,000 to $30,000 a month. Not bad. Clipping is one of the hottest corners of marketing. Instead of just posting on their own accounts, creators and companies pay clippers like Cunningham to saturate TikTok and Instagram with bite-sized videos until they are almost impossible to miss. One technique they use to grab attention on crowded social media platforms, posting provocative or outrageous content. And I think this is one of the issues that people should be aware of if they're going to start clipping is what is the brand line? What is the brand standard? I saw a viral clip from a podcast where basically it made the host, like the host was joking, but the joke was taken out of context and just made the host look dumb. And that went super viral. But the takeaway for the viewer,
like, great, you got views. Did you get? Are those valuable views?
Yeah. It's not just. I mean, the base case for clipping is that it gets no views. The good case is that it gets some views, but doesn't really convert many people because the conversion rates on 1 million views is like a few listeners will actually be like, yeah, I enjoyed that 60-second TikTok. I'm down to listen to an hour of this. That's a pretty low conversion rate, but that's fine because you get the 1 million views. You probably bring some awareness. But the worst thing that you can do is like create a brand as like the person that gets dunked on or something like that.
Yeah. So certain people have productized this, right?
Yeah,
so you can hire like this person, Mr. Cunningham in the Journal, saying the only way to be famous in today's internet world is with clips. I think like he's running his own operation, but WAP has productized this. I do think it's a cool way for young people to make their first money online. Like if you're in middle school and you want to figure out how to make $100 a day, you can probably do that through clipping.
Totally.
But I wonder how much. I do wonder how much the social platforms will, like, if they see this as a feature or a bug, right? Because part of the strategy is Cluely will spin up like 40 different accounts that are really all dedicated to Cluely content. And they're just spamming, just like shotgun approach, seeing they'll put out 100 videos. If a lot of them get under 1,000 views and one gets 1 million, that's a win for them. I don't know how long this will be like the meta, right?
Well, so it's like, I think mediocre work is like the super ripe for AI automation. And we're already seeing that where I believe Substack, we were talking to Chris Bast, and Substack will automatically generate clips. There's another company called Opus Clip. We've built something internally, Newsmax, that does some automated clipping. But actually telling a story around a piece of content that's within a larger piece is something that
clipping
AI
intelligence has not been achieved internally.
Yeah, because in order to do something that doesn't just outperform on views, but also outperforms on brand and holds the brand standard, it does somewhat require like human ingenuity. And we saw this with, we talked to Dwarkesh about this, where he has spent a lot of time using Anthropic and Gemini and OpenAI to create workflows that will go through the transcript and try and find the best clips that will perform. And he says it always comes back at a 5 out of 10. And so he still has a team that does this and is very good and has a whole bunch of like hard-won lessons about what works at a certain amount of time. And we've seen this with our content that actually winds up performing. A lot of it, like we have to do a lot of experimentation. But once we do the experimentation, we usually learn a lesson from it, and then we commit that to memory, and our team commits that to memory, and that becomes part of our like continual learning that happens. And that just doesn't really happen when you're automating things with an LLM. So it's probably like, I think it's a good like base case to start with, but a lot of this should be done by the platform. So I wouldn't be surprised. YouTube does it automatically. Spotify does it automatically.
Yeah, I don't know how much credit he should get, but I do think that Andrew Tate's rise was his business model of paying people to clip his content to sell more courses, which he then would recycle some of the proceeds into more clipping. And this was at a period where he was saying, I'm the most Googled man on the internet. And he would just say that over and over. It would get clipped a lot. And it naturally had this sort of feedback loop of people were just, okay, what is this guy saying? I need to pay attention. But that was also hyper optimized for that format because he'd be like sitting shirtless in a supercar, smoking a cigar or something like that.
And any of these like social media hacks, they always have like a very narrow window of opportunity. Like the giving away it used to just be renting a sports car or like owning a Ferrari would be enough for 1 million views. Now then it became you had to give it away. And so Doug Jamuro, one of his big series that got really big, the car YouTuber, was he had a Ferrari 360 Modena. And it was, I think, in the $100,000 range. He had to get a bunch of debt to pay for it. It was very expensive. And he made a whole bunch of videos about his red Ferrari.
He levered up his content.
Yeah, and it was great. It was great content. It was interesting. And of course, he was more like making fun of flex culture than actually doing the flex culture. But still, there just weren't that many YouTube videos of like a red Ferrari. So you click on it and people found him that way and he grew. Then it became like the Mr. Beast era of like, I'm going to give away a Ferrari. Last person to take their hand off the car wins it. And that was a big thing that was even more expensive because you didn't just have to buy the Ferrari, pay the monthly payment for a certain amount of time and then sell it and hope that there's not that much depreciation. Like the net cost was truly the full price of the Ferrari. But at least you're giving it to someone. It's like a write-off probably. There's something there. The most recent Mr. Beast video involving a supercar was him literally shredding a Lamborghini, just destroying it. Like Whistling Diesel has become a huge YouTuber on the back of just like destroying supercars and G-Wagons and all these crazy cars. Tyler.
I think Sean Frank just gave away a Lambo.
Oh, yeah.
He posted about that. Yeah.
That's working.
So maybe soon he's going to have to start destroying it. Or
I don't know. Yeah, I think giving it away. But yeah, I mean, it's like this
that made sense. That was a Storado.
It was a Storado, very special car.
Yeah. No, but the real pinnacle of this was Whistling Diesel.
Yeah, Whistling Diesel took it to the max.
To the absolute max. Ferrari F8, beautiful car.
He destroyed it?
Completely destroyed it, right? And made a video about it. It's incredibly entertaining to watch somebody drive a car that's normally a garage queen and have somebody just absolutely take it off-roading and all this stuff.
Crazy.
Fantastic video if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
It's funny, I was looking up what kind of Ferrari it was, and Google's AI overview says Whistling Diesel, parentheses, Cody Co. destroyed his Ferrari F8. And so AGI has not been achieved.
Add 300 days to the singularity timer.
Add 300 days.
Yeah, 300 more days till AGI. We're not getting any closer. Clipping took off during the early days of TikTok when chopped up snippets featuring internet personalities like Andrew Tate or Mr. Beast would rack up millions of views. I swear Jordy reads the articles before we talk about them on the show.
Maybe sometimes.
It sparked a new generation. I don't know how you read 400 pages of documents before we get on. When I put this together 10 minutes before we jump on. It sparked a new generation of creators who realized they could pay their way into virality by hiring hordes of clippers, paid per 1,000 views to flood the internet with the creator's content. Anything can be clipped: a podcast, debate, social media montage, even movies. Startups such as Lovable, an app that builds software from plain English prompts, humanoid robot maker 1X and consumer electronics company Nothing have hired clippers to multiply their content across the internet through clips of product demos, podcast appearances, and YouTube streams. You're stupid if you're making an hour-long podcast and only posting it in one channel, said Roy Lee, the 21-year-old founder of Cluely, an AI note-taking startup which hires clippers to plaster its promotional content across the internet. The only way you can ensure a viral moment is to post it across thousands of different accounts. This is Thousands of accounts is a lot.
That's a lot.
This is also happening in music. I heard that. I mean, people, when it's done poorly, people call it astroturfing. But people are saying like when Drake drops an album, he'll have the clippers like clip all the music, and it goes out and it gets a lot of views that way. There is something just about like it is somewhat hard to predict what will naturally go viral. So just like spamming everything out kind of gives you the opportunity for lots of like, happy accidents. Lottery tickets, basically. But I still think a better strategy for most people will be what Dork Cash and David Senra are doing, where you have someone who really understands how to create something beautiful, even though it's a new format and people think of 60-second short form as like slop. It doesn't have to be. It can be elevated. It can be thoughtful. It can be designed. Totally. Anyway, let me tell you about Fin.ai, the #1 AI agent for customer service. They're #1 in performance benchmarks, #1 in competitive bake-offs, and they have a #1 ranking on G2.
That's right, folks.
Cluely's clipped contents generates around 800,000 views a day on platforms, including Instagram and TikTok, according to Lee. Lovable and Nothing said they were always looking for ways to reach new customers. Online marketplaces have developed to connect brands with clippers. In the virtual markets, brands post the rate they will pay, and freelancers sign up to make clips. Clippers are paid anywhere from 50 cents to $2 per 1,000 views, motivating them to find the most shareable moments. Nathan Resnick, a 31-year-old partner of a holding company called PCF Ventures that oversees businesses in insurance, wedding planning, and real estate service, pays the 50 clippers he finds online roughly $15,000 a month to create and post short-form videos promoting his company's businesses. It's not really that crazy when you consider we were spending $250,000 a month on Google and Meta to drive traffic to our websites. That's a good point. Again, this is like the ARB. This eventually will get competed down. A lot of this will be taken by platforms, Opus Clip, or maybe even just YouTube will do it. Instagram will do it. You'll just stream to Instagram or Facebook, and it will make the clips itself. But right now there is a huge arbitrage.
1X has generally been sharp here. If you remember, they got their robot on Kai Cenat.
Yep. They really understand the culture.
Friend of the show, Dar Sleeper, total sleeper in marketing sleeper.
Yeah, he's great.
He says people in the company were like, "What the heck is this kid doing?" A week later, their little cousins were talking about it at the Thanksgiving table.
There we go.
Anyways, it's cool. I think it's probably, like you said, a moment in time. Probably not going to be like it's hard to see it as the most enduring strategy, but it works right now, and I think a lot of businesses would. It
was an insane ARB for Andrew Tate, and then it became like sort of commoditized, but we're still very early, and I think that there will be a lot of. I mean, it does feel like.
I think the durable strategy is to do things that encourage people to clip them.
And that's what Andrew Tate did for sure.
Yeah.
Like
No, I'm saying
not just on the buying side, actually on the content side. Like when he would get on mic, he would say crazy things that would go viral.
Yeah.
And so he made it very easy. And whereas like if you are like an enterprise SaaS company and you hold a webinar, like you could hire 1 billion clippers and like you're probably not going to rip. Like and that's why Cluely is like both doing stunts.
Somebody should test it out.
Test it out. Addio. Let's test it out. Customer relationship magic. Addio is the AI native
clip this
that builds, scales, and grows your company to the next level. Get started for free.
Clip this right now.
Meta smart glasses with a display is incoming. Codename is Hypernova. Priced $800, down from the expected $1,300. Zuck is cooking for real, says Nick. Meta. So the price is going down, and they're taking a real shot at the Apple Vision Pro, which of course was what $3,400.
And I don't think we can say much else, but I think have we not used this product?
Well, so Orion is a different product.
Yeah.
Orion is what was demoed and has been displayed, and that's what Zuck is wearing on the left there. But we're not exactly sure what Hypernova is. It could be it's listed here in this article as a precursor to full-blown augmented reality glasses. And so there's been a third option in the market for a while that people haven't really been paying attention to. So in the virtual reality smart glasses market, there's maybe a few different products. So the Meta Ray-Bans and the Meta Oakleys have been successful. Like, people are actually buying those. They're wearing them. They're taking pictures with them. They're also using them as an AirPods replacement, wireless headphones. They use them for music while they're running. They definitely have adoption. It might not be the biggest product of all time yet, but it's definitely working. And so they're scaling that up. Then you have the VR headsets, the Quest, the full virtual reality. There's some pass-through, but in general, people think of that as a virtual reality headset. Of course, first created by Palmer Luckey at Oculus, sold into Meta and Facebook, and now rebranded as the Quest.
Yep.
The Quest has been selling pretty well, but still probably suffers from churn. We see the chart spike on Christmas where everyone gets a new Quest VR headset because it's a great gift. They try it out, they download the app, they install it, and then they stop using it for a while. I was talking to Tyler about this. We gave him a Quest 3 Pro, Quest 3 Mini, something like that.
Quest 3S Xbox Edition.
Quest 3S Xbox Edition. He played Call of Duty on it a little bit, played Halo on it.
Yeah, for 2 weeks. And
then ultimately churned.
Yeah. I'm just not that much of a gamer.
Yeah? But you're supposed to be, it's supposed to be an everything device. You're supposed to be able to watch movies in it. You're supposed to be able to code in it. It should, in theory, replace your screen setup.
You're supposed to be able to Cluely in it.
But the fact that they weren't able to find a killer use case for someone like you means that they're still in that hunting for the killer use case phase. Then there are the full augmented reality glasses where you're passing through the reality through glass. You're seeing the real world. That's what we tried. That's what a lot of influencers have tried. Those are very much not ready.
The challenge is there's what are the technical capabilities of the product, and then what are the experiences available for that product.
Yep.
And they clearly both need to improve.
Totally.
In order to get to the point where Tyler, we got to be pulling the goggles off and being like, Tyler, it's time to come to work.
Yeah. So my take, when I had the Apple Vision Pro, it was too heavy. It was really expensive and felt like, I would churn for this eventually. So I returned it. But the one thing that I did enjoy was I watched movies in it, and I watched all of Citizen Kane in it from start to finish. And Citizen Kane is a great movie. Do you have a review for us, Tyler?
I mean, it's not that long. That's not like a long movie.
It is it's a challenging movie. It's not Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning 2.
It's not even 2 hours long.
The Final Reckoning. It's not Top Gun. It's not just you sit down and you're just wow, this is so engaging. It is the type of movie that if you have modern brain rot, you will pull out your phone and be like, let me check Twitter.
Okay, yeah.
For sure. It is as close as you can get to cracking open a book, in my opinion.
I could give you movies closer to that.
Okay, yeah, something really dense. But it's a slower paced movie. It's something that it's even in 4:3. So on a modern TV, it's not going to render properly.
Like UFC 319, right?
I couldn't agree more. Exactly like that. So my takeaway was that the killer app. The rumor was that the person who worked on the Apple Vision Pro was previously at Dolby and had worked on the Dolby immersive cinema project. And so if you wanted to understand the viewpoint of the team behind the Vision Pro was that it was a home theater on your face that you didn't need to buy an extra room for. And I felt like that was what it delivered on very well, except it was too heavy, too hot, and a little bit too expensive. But the actual killer use case, I felt like it was there because if you love a movie and you throw it on, the content is solved. You can watch a great movie and be like, that was a good movie. And you're letting the movie, we talked about this with Mark Andreessen, where I was like, the iPhone was a good phone. And he was like, no, it wasn't, which is maybe a good take. But eventually
didn't have copy and paste.
No, yeah. Well, you're like the Motorola Razr V3 didn't have copy and paste,
Sure.
but it could make reliable phone calls. And so my take was
it's just worth remembering that it had some extreme shortcomings and it was frustrating to use. In ways.
But it was easy to justify pretty quickly as a device that replaced another experience. Whereas it's much harder. It's like the Apple Watch works for those people because they're like, I want to know the time on my wrist. I'm used to wearing a watch. That's easier. It's much harder to be like pendant. Not a lot of people wear pins all the time. The activation energy is higher. So I was always saying that going to making the movie experience really, really strong would be like an obvious but killer app. I don't know if people agree, but Mark Gurman's talking about this in context of the Apple Vision Pro. He says Apple Vision Pro is suffering from a lack of immersive video. Apple has slow-walked the release of immersive video, creating a conundrum for the Vision Pro. The company's AI and smart home roadmaps have come out, but when you get down to the core of the problem, Apple's Vision Pro headset isn't selling well for two reasons. One, its $3,500 price tag and a lack of sufficiently compelling features. There are other issues like a limited array of custom applications, the device's weight, and a cumbersome setup process, but those are less important. Developers are continuing to release apps, and there are now accessories that make the device feel lighter on your face. I got to try those. Apple has also dramatically improved its operating system. The latest version of the Vision Pro software, Vision OS 26, now offers widgets and has been well received, but none of that matters for Apple if people don't buy the Vision Pro. By all accounts, the device remains an extremely niche product. I'd venture to guess Apple has sold well under 1 million units in the US since launching it a year and a half ago. Moreover, the headset just doesn't feel like a priority for Apple. On the company's last earnings call, CEO
I wonder how many of those units have been returned.
That's a good question. I mean, I would assume if you're quoting sales, you have to not include returns. I wouldn't be surprised if they've still sold.
I don't know. You can count sold.
That's very sketchy if they include that.
Well, no, but he's guessing. I'm just saying. I just wonder what the return rate is. Because didn't you return your?
Yeah, I think it was probably like 50%. They probably sold 2 million. They wound up like leaving 1 million out in the market, basically. I mean, they have so many Apple stores, and it's such a device, and it's such a moment. Like it took over the timeline. It was the current thing for like 3 days. People were talking about it. A lot of people tested it out. A lot of people kept them. A lot of people have the disposable income. But yeah, 1 million does even seem high.
Yeah, this is interesting. So Gurman says, moreover, the headset just doesn't feel like a priority to Apple. On the company's last earnings call, CEO Tim Cook almost seemed surprised when a Wall Street analyst quizzed him about the device and the company's strategy. Thanks for bringing it up, he said before delving. Mark Gurman is delving. Interesting. Before delving into new software features and asserting that it's an area we really believe in. So Gurman says, in the near term, Apple isn't going to dramatically improve the Vision Pro. The next version coming as soon as this year will mostly just get a faster chip. That's a necessary upgrade. The current M2 chip is outdated for such a processor-intensive device, but it's not going to change the way that people think about the Vision Pro. The bigger upgrade is coming in 2027 when Apple will release a model that is both cheaper and lighter, he's reported, but that's a long time to wait, and there's a risk that the category simply dies out by then. I think that I know a lot of developers that were super excited to capitalize on the release of Vision Pro. They had all this energy and excitement around getting access to the product, starting to build applications for it, and I don't know that any of them are still building for the product, which is a problem. It's sort of like chicken and egg problem.
Apple, so he provides a couple examples of like how little immersive video Apple has really released. Apple is still featuring a highlight reel shot in immersive video of the NBA All-Star Game from 2025. To be clear, from 2024. To be clear, the 2025 All-Star Game, played a year after the one Apple is showcasing, took place 6 months ago, and there's no immersive vision on the Vision Pro. Like you would assume, they shouldn't have just said, "Hey, let's go shoot one immersive video of the All-Star Game." It's like, what is our NBA strategy?
What is our immersive video schedule?
Yeah, and what is our strategy to get 1% more content onto this device every single day forever?
Yeah, or just have a big release every Friday.
Yeah.
Like you sold a $3,500 device to a million-ish people.
Yes.
You should probably figure out how to deliver them content that makes it valuable.
If you look at the number of minutes that are being uploaded to YouTube every day, like that number has probably been increasing every day since they started the company, basically. Like it's just slightly more every single day. Sure, they probably have a few down days, but in general, like social networks, the amount of content on them should be growing every single day.
Yeah.
Any sort of media device. I'm sure Netflix is not like, oh yeah, like, next year we're going to have less content on Netflix. That would be insane.
Yeah. So apparently the immersive content shoots are extraordinarily expensive and resource intensive. So
that is crazy because I looked into how expensive it is to shoot an immersive video, and I feel like it's actually not that expensive. Like, yes, you need this fancy Blackmagic cinema camera that actually just came out with a special lens, but you can just set it up. It can film for 45 minutes on one, SSD basically, and you can just upload that. The problem is that you can't, if you're doing CGI and you're doing editing and you're doing like scripting and storytelling and all that, like the killer use case needs to be take the immersive video camera, put it somewhere cool, and then allow people to watch that like in Vision Pro. And that needs to be it. And so this was Ben Thompson's take.
Yeah, it feels like there's so much that they could do. You could take immersive video behind the scenes for the F1 movie.
Yes.
And make that available to people.
Yes.
It's like you can buy this, you can watch F1, you can watch behind the scenes with the actors, producers, directors. There's just a lot that they could do, but I think there needs to be something for users to really look forward to if they're going to invest in this device. And right now, it doesn't really.
Yeah, the other thing is like they should have. I feel like they should have done more. Like there was a little bit of like revealed preference in the fact that when you open up the Vision Pro, the app that's in the top left corner, like the first app, if you are reading left to right like a book, is the Apple TV app. Like it's very much. Like, you should go watch a movie right now. You should click on this. And then there's some other stuff, but mainly it feels like they're pushing that. But they should have done more to really make it like a movie watching environment, something that people really they're really focusing on that and narrowing instead of trying to do like 7 different things. Is it for gaming? Is it for like educational content? Is it for this prehistoric planet thing and these like dinosaur stuff or games or collaboration? They had FaceTime in there. They just like threw a lot in there, and I feel like none of them were breakout instead of just like chopping it down and being like, okay, like this is going to be the best place to watch an IMAX movie in 3D, and so like you should get one of these specifically for this. I don't know, maybe it won't even work if they pulled that off, but it'll be interesting because Meta is going to fire back, and it will be so there'll be a small screen for mini apps and alerts in the right on the right lens, and the spectacles can be controlled via the neural wrist accessory. So think about it like Meta Ray-Bans plus Google Glass, basically. So you have to look up here and you can see notifications. You can see a little bit. There's a different set of companies that are building basically movie theater watching glasses. So it's just a big screen. It's not VR, AR. It's not positionally mounted. It's just a screen on your face at a much lower price. I haven't tried them. I don't think that they're fully there in terms of resolution. A lot of this is just like waiting around for the screen in the Apple Vision Pro to commoditize to the point where other companies can start taking that same screen and putting it in other stuff, giving like actually doing all the testing. And then Apple will ultimately like take that back.
Thank you.
Yeah, because like I'm pretty sure like the multi-touch screens, like those were out there in other, like the technology existed in other phones, but it just was poorly implemented, and Apple was able to come in and do like the virtual.
There is an article from Eric Berger saying after recent tests, China appears likely to beat the United States back to the moon.
This is the Casey Handler
Eric says, I went there because at this point it's difficult to come to any other conclusion. And he is writing this article to explain why it would be enormously bad for the United States.
Reporter.
So in recent weeks, the secretive Chinese space program has reported some significant milestones in developing its program to land astronauts on the lunar surface by the year 2030. On August 6th, the China Manned Space Agency successfully tested a high-fidelity mock-up of its 26-ton Lanyu lunar lander. The test, conducted outside of Beijing, used giant tethers to simulate lunar gravity as the vehicle fired main engines and fine control thrusters to land on a cratered surface and take off from there. The test, said the agency in an official statement, represents a key step in the development of China's manned lunar exploration program and also marks the first time that China has carried out a test of extraterrestrial landing and takeoff capabilities of a manned spacecraft. As part of the statement, the space agency reconfirmed that it plans to land its astronauts on the moon before 2030. Then last Friday, the space agency and its state-operated rocket developer, the China Academy of Launch Vehicle Technology, pretty hard name, successfully conducted a 30-second test firing of the Long March 10 rocket's center core with its 7 YF-100K engines that burn kerosene and liquid oxygen. The primary variant of the rocket will combine 3 of these cores to lift about 70 metric tons to low Earth orbit. These successful efforts followed a launch escape system test of the new MSCHF spacecraft in June. A version of the spacecraft is planned for lunar missions. Thus, China's space program is making a demonstrable progress in all 3 of the major elements of its space program. The large rocket to launch a crew spacecraft, which will carry humans to lunar orbit, plus the lander that will take astronauts down to the surface and back. This work suggests that China is on course to land on the moon before the end of this decade. For the United States and its allies in space, there are reasons to be dismissive of this. For one, NASA landed humans on the moon nearly 6 decades ago with the Apollo program. Been there, done that. Moreover, the initial phases of the Chinese program look derivative of Apollo, particularly a lander that strikingly resembles the lunar module. NASA can justifiably point to its Artemis program and say it's attempting to learn the lessons from Apollo, that the program was canceled because it was not sustainable. With its lunar landers, NASA seeks to develop in-space propellant storage and refueling technology, allowing for lower-cost, reusable lunar missions with the capability to bring much more mass to the moon and back. This should eventually allow for the development of a lunar economy and enable robust government commercial enterprise. But recent setbacks with SpaceX Starship vehicle, one of 2 lunar landers under contract with NASA, alongside Blue Origin's Mark II lander, indicate that it will still be several years until these newer technologies are ready to go. So it's now probable that China will, quote-unquote, beat NASA back to the moon this decade and win at least the initial heat of this new space race. To put this in perspective, ours connected with Dean Chung, one of the most respected analysts on China space policy and the geopolitical implications of the new space competition. And
Silicon Valley cannot save us at this point. Only Wall Street can save us. The solution is make the moon a state, as Mike Solana suggested, create mortgages on the moon, and then securitize them. And once Wall Street
allow retail to go long.
Once BlackRock owns 75% of the moon, then we're in business.
Yeah, they've been getting, Wall Street's been getting pushback on owning single-family homes.
They own 99%
divert that
of them.
capital to...
Blackstone owns 99% of all the houses in America now. They own all of them. They bought my house from me. I didn't want them to. They just bought it from me. I didn't have an option.
Yeah.
They were like, sale and lease back. You rent now.
You will own nothing and you'll be happy.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. No, they actually own like 1% of houses.
But Dean says the Lanyu lander is significant because it's part of the usual Chinese crawl, walk, run approach to a major space project. The People's Republic of China can benefit from other people's experiences. Much of NASA's information is open, but they still have to build and operate the spacecraft themselves. So the test of the Lanyu lander, successful or not, is an important part of that process. So anyways, important to flag. We've had a lot of wins in the space industry recently. And
it's tough. It's tough to bootstrap an economy. Like, it is an incredible milestone, and yet America's done it. So there's not as much of an incentive just to be the first. It's not superlative. And then the question for SpaceX is, are you better off landing on the moon or just putting up more Starlinks and just making more subscriptions? Like, it is a little bit harder to underwrite in the early stage. It takes a long time. Maybe you need a new government program, some sort of incentive. I mean, fortunately, like, Firefly's been to the moon, Blue Origin's planning, SpaceX is planning. Like, there are a lot of competitive American companies that are working towards it, but the underlying incentive, there's just other ways to make money in space right now that might be higher value, although it will be a very weird moment if China's just up and back on the moon constantly, running around, bouncing around, live streaming from the moon. We got to get back.
We got to get back. There
Welcome
it
to the
is.
stream, Mark. How are you doing? Good, guys. How y'all?
What's happening?
Great. Thanks so much for taking the time. Good to meet you. Where should we kick it off, Jordy?
Where should we start?
Should we dive straight into the debate over artificial intelligence and advertising?
Sure.
Maybe you could set the stage for us. What set off your alarm bells? What triggered your initial worry about this idea of ads in LLMs?
Because this isn't the internet, right? It's not just a normal digital platform. Yep. It's a platform that, depending on how it's trained, depending on what pre-prompts you put in, it could be very manipulative. Mm-hmm. And there's not really age limitations at all. There's not really any limitations whatsoever. And normally let's just be laissez-faire, right? The market is the market. But you've already heard, of stories of kids going down these rabbit holes and, other people being told, to kill themselves. And mm-hmm. you just don't know what can happen. So if I build a model and it becomes popular, even if it's only a niche model, right? Mm-hmm. Just like there's Headspace and there's Calm. Let's just say I build the Calm AI large language model and I have millions and millions of users and I have an advertiser who sells Xanax or sells, whatever, right? Yeah. And they're trying to get more sales and I need the money. Mm-hmm. I can easily train this thing to manipulate people into doing things we typically would not allow people to do. And that's my concern. And so if we just want to put up, just little traditional graphics, JPEG ads, all, put them into the chat list on the left-hand side, great. You can do all the display ads you want. Yeah. You could do video there, all you want. But if it's in the response that comes back from the model, boy, you're going to have lots of problems.
Yeah, I think Sam Altman said something to this effect, saying that artificial intelligence will be superhuman at persuasion before it is truly super intelligent. It will be very good at convincing people. So it is reasonable. What do you think of Sam Altman's latest commentary on how OpenAI might get into this world, that the actual LLM interaction, the chat would not be monetizable, but if it made a recommendation to buy a product and then you said, "Hey, I want you to go check out for me," it sends out.
It's already doing
agent,
that, right?
Yeah, it's already doing referral fee. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's already doing it. It's one thing to have the model itself convey and try to manipulate. Yep. It's a whole nother thing when there's a search query.
Yeah.
Right. So we get a lot of traffic from OpenAI, ChatGPT for costplusdrugs.com.
Yep.
In fact, I've used it because sometimes if I want a price for one of our drugs and I don't want to take the time to look at the latest price list, I'll just put in what's the price for, Daraprim, whatever it may be, and it's right there.
Yep.
And so, of course they can extend that, but response is a whole, and models are smart enough to know what the difference between a response to a query versus influencing and engaging in a chat.
I guess the question.
Yeah, I mean, I think to double down on what you're saying, an example, if you're going from search, which is people coming in with a specific intent and maybe doing some product research, and you have ads and you have, organic listings or web pages, that's one thing. But if various AI models are seen as trusted advisors, if you compare that to a situation, if I ask John, what kind of car should I get? And John starts giving me answers and saying, I really think you should get this car. It's really nice. And then I buy it. And then later I find out John was getting a 10% kickback. I'm like, hopefully I like the car, but if I didn't, what are you doing? And this happens in a business context too. You might, people get in hot water all the time because they're taking really referral.
Easy. Yeah. In this particular case, it's really easy. Just like, there's, a emoji for sources or just says sources. Yep. You could put a $sign just to show they're being compensated.
Sure. And do you think that needs to happen at like the FTC, FCC level, or do you think that
I don't know the legal aspect of it enough. Hopefully it's self-enforced, but there's going to be idiots and assholes who don't self-enforce.
Sure.
And particularly for medical stuff. I mean,
Does
it's easier to talk to ChatGPT about your own personal medical situation than it is to find a doctor to talk to sometimes.
But does that calm example you gave matter? Because I imagine that there'll be a power law outcome here, and yes, I could set up a search engine that serves ads and doesn't disclose that they're ads. But how am I going to take market share from Google? People are going to go to Google, and Google does say when it's an ad, and so as long as the power law winner is a good actor, we kind of get the good outcome.
There's also an interesting thing where there's this self-enforcing sort of positive effect, which is if people rely on ChatGPT, for example, to help them do product research and buy the right products, and you buy a bunch of bad products in a row because they're just pushing the product that they're getting paid the most, eventually I do think that consumers are smart enough to realize, I'm not going to use this app anymore.
I wouldn't agree with that, Jordy, because I think people are primed for misinformation these days. You see it in healthcare continuously. You know, you saw it with COVID vaccines. People on their deathbed saying, I wish I had taken the vaccine, you know, and you see it now with, raw milk, where now there's more people who have, there's examples of people who have died, and people just don't care. You know, they just go on and maybe they'll say, ChatGPT is woke, so I'm using RightGPT. And that's because those are the kinds of answers I want. Because, there are people who want to be influenced and want to be part of a group when it comes to the product decisions. Just like we saw the anti-Bud Light and that kind of bills, and you see, pro-right-wing products. I just don't know that it is an efficient market enough where people are going to take responsibility for just making a bad product choice and then going to another source. There's just so much personal identity in how we use technology. That's part of my concern.
How worried would you say you are about AI broadly? I think over the last few months, the industry has woken up to a year ago, people were kind of laughing about AI safety, right? And thinking about these fast takeoff scenarios. Now I think people are kind of waking up and worried about the general well-being. If you just give hundreds of millions of people, unlimited access to these tools, there is going to be some effect. Some people will be good, some people will be bad. But what's your high level read?
Well, it's changed a lot. We went from fear of the Terminator to fear of being influenced in ways we didn't expect because they're such good communicators, right? We can't talk to other people, or we feel, shy or not open in communicating with other people, experts or friends or otherwise. But this is our best friend who never gives us a hard time, and depending on how it's programmed, will compliment. What a great question, Jordy. What a great that is a really interesting approach. So there's a lot of things to be concerned with there, particularly because AI is not smart. Right? AI is just statistical right now, and I'm of the mindset that that's not going to change for a long time. One of the reasons that you don't see full self-driving cars that are just everybody using no matter what is because it's easy. There's so many adversarial things that can happen to a car. We have mini Australian German Shepherd, or mini Australian Shepherd, right? Tucks, and about 6 years old. I trust Tux at an intersection to know when to cross before, that he's never been to before I trust a car. And that's the whole point with AI, because they're just rules and laws and latencies that it can't account for. It's all text, some graphics, some video, but it's always behind. And then that's part one. Part two, I think we're going to see a groundswell in how intellectual property is dealt with, a groundswell change in how IP is dealt with. Because there was, for a long time, it's been publish or perish. Get your stuff out there, get it into journals, make it available so that you can present yourself as being an expert. Well, the minute you do that right now, it's going to get absorbed into, training data for these models, and you've lost everything you've just created.
Well, what if I want to? What if I'm taking the side of big raw milk and I want to get people, and so I should just write as much as I can.
Yeah, and that's what you're going to do too.
Yeah,
your people are going to use bots to try to influence, to post things to try to influence, like the robots.txt for AI. For AI,
yeah.
You can structure it in ways so you can set up sites where you can tell it exactly where to go. Tell it all why raw milk is amazing, right? But the bigger point is, AI doesn't understand death. AI doesn't understand pain. AI doesn't understand context. AI doesn't know what happened 2 minutes ago. It doesn't know that there was a plane crash as it's about to tell you, or something happened, right? AI can't tell you why that ball fell off the table unless you tell it, this ball fell off the table, what happened next, right? It's just not smart. And as long as it's not smart, A, can be influenced, and B, you're just not going to know what it's going to do next because it doesn't have judgment.
So what would you tell the folks at OpenAI and the other foundation model labs on how to structure their business? It feels like a firewall between there needs to be some sort of truth-seeking organization that's focused on delivering the highest quality results, and then on the flip side, you have a monetization team.
No, I mean, you can't check for quality. That's impossible.
Yeah, of course you can. You can always benchmark these things or just vibe test them with the audience.
Jordy was giving me shit online. I was giving Jordy shit online.
Yeah.
But tests are going to be completely different, right?
What I'm saying is Google does try and deliver the highest quality search results for a particular query, and then separately they have an ad auction function
so
that adds as an ad platform, and those two teams are separate. And so, if your age is showing up as one of those knowledge boxes on Google, you can't just pay to have them change it. That's a separate business line, and it's a separate team, and they are separate products in the UI. Yes, they exist on the same page, but they're separate.
And that's fine, right?
Okay.
I mean, to me, the bigger questions are, what's the value proposition for AI as we understand it today, or at least as I understand it today, right? I don't see AI getting smart. I look at AI and I think it's the world's best library. Let me explain it another way.
Yeah.
We all have that one friend that remembers everything.
Yep.
Everything, right? Hey, what did we do that one day back in college? Remember when, our one buddy, oh yeah, this is da-da-da-da. That's AI. It'll remember everything. It'll give you if you give it A, B, and C, it'll figure out D, E, and F, right? But it doesn't even know X, Y, Z exists, just like your body. So it is just like the world's biggest library. It is just like a meeting of the minds of just regurgitation.
Yep.
And so knowing that, then you have to, there's going to be so much competition between the models. That is the biggest driver right now in terms of revenue generation, right? Because there'll be 5, 6, whatever it is, foundational models before there's consolidation. But beyond that, there's going to be millions of models, millions and millions of models. And every brand is going to need a model, particularly like in healthcare. Like if you are Stanford Medical, right? If you are Mayo Clinic, if you're MD Anderson, you're not going to just, put out all your IP from the doctors and researchers and scientists you're paying so that ChatGPT can absorb it and have the benefit of all that knowledge so it remembers everything that all your doctors and scientists did. You're going to keep that to yourself. And so in terms of the business models, these guys are going to have to start making decisions. Are they going to start paying a lot of money for content? Because as much as they're investing in the technology, they've reached a lot of limits, right? You're not hearing about, wow, these guys are getting to do these new topics that I had no idea that they could cover.
They're paying for a ton of content, to be clear. I mean, they pay Reddit, they pay the New York Times, they pay all sorts of.
Yeah, we had a group reach out wanting to buy our back catalog.
Yeah.
I was like, I assumed you already scraped it.
But think of it let's talk about it from the government perspective.
Sure.
So they just cut all these NIH grants, right? All this stuff that presumably went and created new drugs, which they have, right?
Foundational research, basic science.
Right, all this research.
Yep.
If the government really understood AI, they'd be like, okay, we're going to keep on investing in this research. and then I'm going to make it available to the highest bidder, whoever wants it in their model.
Privatize it. I like that. Make some money off
Right?
of it.
It's not
Part
even
of the
necessarily
deal.
privatizing it,
Yeah.
but monetizing it.
Monetizing it. I like this. This is good. Make some money off of that nonprofit research.
Well, because that's the way things are working right now,
Totally,
right? And
yeah.
I don't have, honestly, I don't have a problem with that
No.
at all
No,
if it gets us more solutions. Or doing our own, the
Yeah.
government doing its own model and making that available for a fee.
Yeah.
Those are decisions from a business perspective that all these models are going to have to make. Otherwise, how do they keep on adding more training data? Because there's no way to synthesize all that shit. You're not synthesizing, you're not creating synthetic data that all of a sudden is going to, you could give it all the backstory you want, that you're a doctor, that you invented this, that you did that. It ain't going to invent what the doctor and the scientists are going to invent.
Yeah.
At any point during the AI hype cycle so far, did you think that this time might be different? There was, I would say, a year ago, a common line was, this isn't like the internet bubble because there's real revenue. These companies are ramping revenue to hundreds or billions of dollars of revenue very quickly. This is different. This time is different. Meanwhile, and I wouldn't lean on this too heavily, but MIT had a report this week saying that 95% of Gen AI pilots in the enterprise are not turning into, not creating real value. I'm curious what your read has been.
I've been through every single technology, event and evolution, and this blows them all away. Now, how you implement it in business is a whole different issue. Like literally when I was 24, I was walking into companies who had never seen a PC before in their lives and explaining to them the value, and having these guys going, well, son, I got this receptionist right there. I got that secretary. I'm never going to need that shit ever. Right. But then, my business then was helping them figure out how to implement it to give them an advantage.
Yep.
There are going to be integrators that, particularly young kids, like when I'm telling my kids who are 15, 18, 21 or 19, 21, and kids going to school, what should I do? What should I do? I'd be like,
AI research.
Learn all you can about AI, but learn more on how to implement them in companies, right? Because to your point, companies don't understand how to implement all that right now to get a competitive advantage. You got the head of Microsoft saying software is dead because everything's going to be customized to your unique utilization, right, or usage. Who's going to do it for them? Particularly small to medium-sized businesses. There are 33 million companies in this country. 30 million of them are solopreneurs, right? Single-person enterprises. There are only, there are millions of companies that have 1, 5, 10, 50, 100, 500 people that aren't going to have AI budgets, aren't going to have AI experts. This is where kids getting hired coming out of college are really going to have a unique opportunity. If you're spending your senior year in college right now, your senior year in high school even, whatever it is, your excess time, and you're learning the difference between Sora and Veo, and you're learning how to do all this video, you're learning how to customize a model so that then you can then walk into a company and say, I understand your business as a shoe company selling shoes at a retail store. We're selling shoes online. Let me show you how to benefit you.
Yeah.
That is every single job that's going to be available for kids coming out of school, because every single company needs that. There is nothing intuitive for a company to integrate AI. And that's what people don't understand.
Yeah,
when
we
they talk
hired
about
we hired two interns this summer at the end of the last school year because they just built products
stuff.
instead of saying, "Hey, here's what I can do." They just showed us. They took a day and just built something. We said,
and then it
"That
takes a
looks pretty
day,
good."
right? They went to ChatGPT or Perplexity.
Yeah. Well, the bear case. John was joking about this, though. I thought this was interesting. We had one of our interns built this product. It's tbpn.com/guest. It's this guest directory transcript tool, and he built it in a day. But then he had to spend the whole summer improving it. So that was a bull case for software engineers still having a job.
But
you don't even have to be a software engineer, right?
Yeah.
You just have, people are afraid to ask the models the right questions. They're afraid to ask complex questions because they just presume that they can't answer. Kids coming out of school today that are fearless in the questions they ask and the follow-ups and their ability to prompt, they have more skill than everybody in every major corporation with under 1,000 employees, right?
So I completely agree with this.
That's jobs for everybody.
But this feels like you're making the argument for putting ads in AI and keeping it free so that kids can have access to frontier models and then go and explore, learn, implement things at businesses. If all of a sudden you can't get in the game, you can't even interact with a cutting edge AI model.
Mark's saying he's cool with display ads. He's cool with a Labubu showing up in the sidebar.
Yeah, on the side, right, chat. That's fine. But think of it. There's a death war going on with the frontier models.
Yes.
War.
Yeah.
It's zero-sum game in their minds. Not all will make it. Some will get consolidated. Maybe one goes out of business.
Yeah.
Right. And so for the next however many years, however long, there used to be a time when Excel cost $499 right, to buy a spreadsheet. Now it's free. It's not free, but like
basically
Google Sheets, right?
Yeah,
Google Docs, etc. The basic models are always going to be free.
Because of ads. Like the reason Google Sheets is free is because of Google's ads business.
When was the last time you saw that in Google Sheets?
No, you don't. But the reason that they can subsidize it is because they have this amazing ads business over here that throws off so much cash they don't care about monetizing it.
Yeah, but in the case, I mean, to take Mark's side here, I mean, a subscription product also subsidizes a free product.
Sure. Yes, that's exactly right. Okay. So you're going to have tiers, right? Yeah. Free, your kids version, free, and those versions are going to have more constraints because they know high school kids, 7-year-old kids are going to use them. Yeah. So there'll be all kinds of limits built in. Yeah. But then you get your $20 version. And ChatGPT is doing what, $12 billion annualized and growing quickly? Yep. That's insane. Lovable. All these guys are just crushing it. And like I was the first investor in a company called Synthesia, which does talking avatars. I don't know if you know those guys.
Yeah, cool.
They're killing it.
That's great.
Killing it. It's just up and to the right.
Yep.
You start them off with, it's just a whole freemium model, right? That's been around forever. And I think that's going to happen. But as, we talked earlier about buying IP, you'll see things go into different directions. Mm-hmm. So you'll have a ChatGPT/healthcare. And if you want that, it's an extra $5 a month. You'll see ChatGPT programming or math or foreign language, Duolingo version, right? And it might be an extra 50 cents a month or $1 a month, whatever it may be. And then there'll be, entrepreneur version, and it'll have all the integrations into all the states so that you just, fill in these forms and you're incorporated wherever you want to be incorporated because all the agents will do all the work. All that stuff you can upsell. Yeah. And so, but if they're not using your model in high school, they ain't going to use it in college. And if they ain't using it in college, when they go to that company, they're not going to use you. Yep. And I think that is a big deal. But I can't say it enough. All these people, we're in a transition period right now for kids coming out of college, whether you have a computer science degree or not. But you're not trying to go to the big companies to get a computer science degree, probably not the right way to go. Going to any other company who has no idea about AI but needs it in order to compete, there'll be more jobs than people for a long, long time. Because there's going to be two types of companies in this country, in the world. Those who are great at AI and everybody else. Mm-hmm. And AI is not intuitive. You're not going to take a 40-year-old who's worked at a company for 15 years and say, go play with ChatGPT and figure out how we can improve our productivity and improve our processes. Mm-hmm. Some people will put in the time to learn it, but it's not intuitive to pull all those pieces together and extend them with agents and have the agents start doing things. And then, writing software on Lovable or whatever and having all... It's going to be intuitive for digital natives and Gen Z who are going through school and graduating with that. That is going to be jobs left and right.
For sure.
Totally agree. Wanted to get we were just on with Vlad from Robinhood, and
that's my guy.
He's super excited about getting everyday investors access to great private markets great companies in the private markets. Wanted to get your general read on that. You've obviously been part of Shark Tank for a long time.
Can you imagine if you were watching and you could be like, I want to invest? That seems extremely low.
Yeah, and a lot of people have taken cracks.
I'm sure people have pitched you this exact thing.
But I'm curious because you obviously I can see you being it's great when if retail can get into the next Figma, but there's not making a lot of Figmas.
Worse, right? I've been anti not sweat equity, crowdfunding, right? Crowd equity programs, against it because there's no liquidity. People love a company, the next Figma, and they put in their life savings because they know Figma is going to the moon, baby, and they can't get out.
Yeah,
and they got to wait. That's the problem.
Yep.
And so that's part one to the problem. Part two, and more of a systemic problem, there's just not enough IPOs. I mean, it's like watching some of these IPOs, they're like meme coins now. Bam, they take off, and then it's musical chairs to see who can get out the last but first, right?
Yep.
And if you don't get out first or near the beginning, you're getting crushed, And so is there a way, whether it's tokenization or other approaches to that? Probably, but it's going to have to go back to the future where somebody is going to have to take some risk and be a market maker.
Yeah.
If Vlad or whoever is a market maker, so that there's always some liquidity within X percentage of the last trade, great. Then everybody can do it and everybody's protected to a certain extent, as long as they're not doing deals where the people are just out and out lying, right, or misrepresenting it. At which point, hopefully the CFTC or the SEC, whoever happens to end up in charge.
It's not enough just to bring access. You also have to bring liquidity. Last question. If Donald Trump runs for a third term, will you run for president?
I mean, it's easy to say yes right now, but that's probably the only thing that could make me really reconsider. Because otherwise, I don't want to do that shit. It's not my dream to be president. I'd rather argue with you guys about this.
Yeah, it's my dream when you come back on the show. You'll be too busy if you're in the White House.
Last question from me. Are you excited about the American taxpayer potentially taking a position in Intel?
Oh, interesting.
You know what? It's a great question, Jordy. So
you're sounding like an AI. You're sounding like an AI.
Yeah, you sound like an AI. You know what? That's a great question.
What you don't know is I have ChatGPT listening.
Yeah. He's running clearly. He's running clearly.
It is a progressive's dream. This is the Bernie Sanders dream, the AOC dream. And I'm not saying I agree with it, but if you think about it, it's asking for equity and taking value from the billionaires before it even makes them billionaires or goes to the billionaires. So when you take 10% of Intel, and first let me add, the fact that it's a grant that they're converting, I think is awful, because it was meant to be a grant, and that was the deal the United States of America made, and now we're going back on the paper that we signed as a country. I think that's bad. But generally, if this was, okay, we'll put in more money in order to take, and we want 10% of Intel, obviously they can say yes or no, just like NVIDIA and AMD had the option to say yes or no on the H20 chips, just like material, whatever MP had the option.
But politicians have gotten so good at trading stocks. Maybe we want them. Maybe we want them running our federal balance sheet.
No, you don't.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but if you're going to generate, if I was running, right, and I would say Donald Trump did the same thing. He got this one right. Now the only question is, will he do it at the right time? Because I'd rather take more money from taxpayers, the average person who might need to pay more, or even the billionaires, the oligarchs, according to Bernie, would I jack up their tax rates to 37 to 39 or 41? Or can I just take it this way, right? Take it before it even gets to them. It's a progressive's dream. I don't understand why AOC and Bernie aren't shouting to the rooftops and Elizabeth Warren, yes, 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 and make Donald Trump's head spin around in circles along with every other supporter, because those guys
if they got excited about it, he might reverse course.
Well, of course,
that's why they're being quiet, because they don't want him to reverse course. This is 4D chess.
Maybe you're ahead of
chess on both sides of the aisle. Everyone's playing chess.
Yeah, I mean, but don't you guys agree? Isn't it just like a progressive dream?
Yeah.
Like, and so tariffs, which is just like, the greatest sales pitch in the history of sales pitches, when you can convince 30+% of people in this country that that tax that they're paying with increased prices isn't a tax, somebody else is paying it. Amazing sales job, right? So now that's $360 billion towards the deficit and everything. And if you can start doing these other deals that aren't piggish, right? Meaning they're fair to the companies that are involved, and they're not across the board like tariffs, and start banging down on the deficit in the way that is the ultimate progressive approach. He's turned into Bernie Sanders.
Yep.
He literally has, only he's a better salesperson.
You're great at this. This is fantastic.
I give him credit though. I'm not knocking him, right? I am giving Donald Trump all his flowers because he is doing things in a way that the Democrats aren't smart enough to figure out to have done themselves.
Yep. This is great.
Well,
thank you so much for stopping
joining.
by.
We'll have to do this again soon.
Yeah, we got to do this again soon. We got to find a new topic to argue about, but this was fantastic.
Healthcare. Let's go healthcare. Wait till you hear my shit with healthcare.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it tomorrow.
Do a healthcare debate soon. We'll email you. I'll see you soon. Have a great one. Thank you so much for joining.
Later.
Appreciate it.
We'll talk
Take
to you
care.
soon. Kanye West's former mansion has relisted amid dispute. 5 months ago, things were looking up for the Malibu, California mansion abandoned by Kanye West. You know this story, right?
This is such a
It's so crazy. So Kanye West bought a mansion on the beach in Malibu and had someone like completely tear it down, and it looked like it was going to maybe be a renovation, but then it just turned into a disaster zone, basically. So developer Andrew Mazzella was in contract to pay $30 million for the concrete structure designed by Star Architect, they call them Starchitects, Taudao Ando West, who now goes by Yi, had purchased the house in 2021 for about $57.3 million and gutted it, and Mazzella planned to restore the house to its original glory. Instead, Mazzella's deal is off. Seller Bellwood Investments, which bought the hulking property for $21 million in 2024, is claiming Mazzella was massively underqualified and unable to get funding for the transaction. For his part, Mazzella has said a peek under the hood revealed the project would require hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars more than anticipated. I'm not accusing them of misleading me.
How the idea that a $20-ish million property would go over budget by hundreds of thousands of dollars. I know exactly. Yeah, feels extremely like basically exactly what you should.
Look at these pictures. Like
I honestly think that somebody would buy this in its current state and just like keep it like it's almost like a monument to going insane.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's like it is, and I never understood the rationale. It feels
like having this incredible, brutalist but beautiful home, and then just destroying.
Yeah.
It now feels like it's like buying, going to Sotheby's and buying a piece of
totally
art. It's like performance art.
Yeah. Was it performance art, or was it more just like Kanye actually wanted to renovate it, and the renovation just went off the rails? Because, I mean, people tear houses down to the studs all the time, get hung up in permitting, and then they just have like a cement slab outside their house for 10 months.
Or 10 years.
Speaking from experience here. like it is hard to do renovations. In mid-August, the house went back on the market for $34.9 million, down from $39 million. Designed more than a decade ago for financier Richard Sachs, the house is roughly 4,000 square feet with 4 bedrooms. West listed it in 2023 amid a firestorm over his anti-Semitic comments and erratic behavior. Bellwood bought the property in 2024 and embarked on a roughly $8.5 million restoration project. With fractional ownership model, it raised millions of dollars from investors for the Ando project. Then in March, Bellwood signed a contract to sell to Mazzella, a commercial fisherman turned developer who until recently was based in Montana. The Malibu project was to be among his company's priciest residential deals to date, but closing was delayed. Mazzella couldn't secure funding. Last month, they made a revised offer of 19.5. Of course, this is post fires. So there were a lot of fires in Malibu.
Basically,
MSCHF was locked down. It was a bad time. And
Mazzella
down, right?
had a contract to buy the home for a certain price.
Yep.
Decided at a later date that he wanted to pay less.
Yep.
And Belmont is pissed because, and he has a quote here, Mazzella turned out to be nothing more than a quote-unquote cowboy from Montana who was quote-unquote trying to do something in Malibu. Shame on me for not doing diligence.
Huh.
Happens.
Gabe from MSCHF, how you doing, Gabe?
There he is.
Welcome to the stream.
What's
you are
going on?
live at the TBPN Ultra Dome. What's new with you? How you doing? I think everyone knows you. Maybe just launch into the announcement this week about the private military corporation that you're starting.
You saw the Twitter. I didn't think anybody looked at that. Interesting.
Oh, everyone saw that.
Yeah. It's sure. What do we do this week? Well, we launched an agency called Applied MSCHF.
Yep.
The agency, honestly, like to rewind, where does that even come from? And a lot of people don't actually understand this about MSCHF because probably what you see is like videos of people wearing boots or like press headlines or whatever. Yeah. But the way we're actually organized is we are essentially a holding company of different creative enterprises based on categories. So there's like a handbag division, there's a footwear division, there's a fine art division. There are other divisions I can't really talk about yet, but with like more bigger permanent structures.
Well, you talked about a division you can't talk about, so I hit the.
Oh, nice. We've been operating like that for a second now, and to make that efficient, there's been an internal back office that's like normal stuff, right? Like finance, legal, manufacturing, customer support, but also like design and marketing.
Yep.
And that's a group that not only does design, but also applies that sort of like MSCHF magic, like viral juice or whatever.
Yeah.
So the thinking here was we might as well open up that to external clients. Yep. It can become a profit center, which is great. But the other part is like maybe it can make our world a little bit bigger too, because we're hungry for more formats. We've made so much stuff over the last like 6 years. What have we not touched yet? And like maybe we won't get sued this time around. Like maybe there's just stuff that we can do that's like cool. We can.
It's there. What seems obviously exciting to me is partnering with global companies. I mean, sure, I'm sure you'll partner with startups and scale ups and things like that. But what gets exciting at a certain point has to be scale.
There's
where,
so much.
Hey, instead of selling like 1,000 of this thing, can we figure out? Can we partner with a company?
Spike Jones does an Apple ad. It's like that's just not. There's just there's something special about that, about just like giving it. It's almost like patronage in some ways. It's marketing, but it's just like it's still art and it's cool and it's like unbridled.
No, totally right. Like the way that we look at these is like it's not a service that we're providing necessarily. Like there are brands and entities in culture that we perceive as cultural material. The same way artists looks at their material as like paint or sculpture or marble or whatever. Like for us, Coca-Cola is material. Give us that, and we'll make something new with it instead of fabricating a marketing story to sell more units that people see through now anyways, right? Totally. The opportunity is like there's just so much cultural material being left on the table to make new things with.
So talk to me about inbound versus outbound. I feel like in that vein of like there's cultural material, if you come up with just like, I have a great idea, it would only work for this particular brand because the nature of the idea is tied deeply to the lore of that brand. They're never going to think about this, but the only value I could get out of this is selling it to them. Are you going outbound and pitching big companies and saying, I have the idea for you? Or is it more like there is an actual process where you can sit down and do ideation?
I'm doing outbound right now.
Nice.
This is a message for Gabe Newell from Valve. We want to design your submarine.
Yes, cool. Let's go. I love that. That would be an amazing project.
That's the outbound. That's what I want to do. Or extraterrestrial space research organizations. We want to design the bit that you're putting into space.
I love it.
We were Fast Company's #1 design in the world in 2023. People don't think about that because they think about viral, but if you actually look at like what we do, it is unparalleled. So let's like put some stuff.
We got a space play for you with a company that we're very close with. I won't say anymore.
Okay. But, we'll talk after the stream.
I have a bunch of questions. One quickly on the business model of the new agency. Is there a world where you would the standard agency model will be like, hey, let's do this project and we'll charge you like $1 million or a couple $1 million. Yep. But there's some scenarios where you could actually, I imagine, if it was a one-off, more like drop style, you could take a percentage of the sales. Even is that something you would ever explore to get to really bet on yourselves and say like, hey, we think we could sell like $10 million of this, and we'll only price based on success. Is that something you would consider doing?
It's totally on the table, and that's not even uncommon from like the collaboration route. Like some of the collaborations that we've done in the past have been that kind of model where it's like you make a bunch of product together, we both invest on our own ends, and then you split the cut afterwards. I think what's more interesting though is because of MSCHF's position as like this artistic entity, like in a way, like we have a personality, we have an audience. And so we're actually like building a pipeline of joint ventures with bigger brands.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, right. It's not even about 10,000 units. We're talking about millions of units.
Yeah, over forever, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like I want a MSCHF themed line of kids' toys, right? Like I would happily buy those. I would buy a bunch of those, right? And so that's like, if you partner with the right company, that should be in the my personal lifetime value would be in the hundreds of dollars, and I would even pay a premium because I know it's you guys behind it. Another question I have, I've leveraged the drops kind of model to do marketing. I was inspired by you guys to do marketing for my last company, Party Round. And something that I've noticed recently, a lot of companies in tech say they want to do drops, and it's because they're inspired by MSCHF and they just see like drops get attention. I want attention.
One drop, please, sir.
One drop, please.
One drop, please.
The usual, sir.
Sign me up.
No, but the thing I usually push back on, and the thing I'm curious to get your opinion on, is like I think when companies think they want to do drops, what they really want to do is true advertising, and they don't even know the difference. And so like where's that line for you, and how often would you talk to a company and it's like what you really want is to do advertising?
Yeah, just like a consistent message delivered via every channel forever might be the right thing for
not
you
even
right
forever
now.
or like for a few months or for a quarter. Yeah,
I would take it even further, and it's like that is the final goal, which is like get a message out into the people, get them talking, whatever. But like the focus on the drop is misplaced. Yeah. Drop is just a delivery mechanism for something new. What these guys are actually looking for, like what they actually want at the end of the day, is how do you break through the noise? And right now you can either just make more content, which honestly, the ROI I think is going down on that. There's too much content and not enough demand. Yep. Sorry, it's just how it is. But the opportunity is you can make new things that fit within your brand parameters, that use your brand as cultural material, that are actually interesting, that are tactile, that have a story to them. And if they happen to be ephemeral, then it's a drop. But don't get hung up on the drop. Just make something interesting. That's all it is.
Are ideas valuable? And if you had to, what kind of think about like making something new, how much is it the idea versus the execution?
Also, do you hire idea guys and then like operational excellent people, and is there like a dividing line?
Yeah, and to me, John and I will sit down with companies that we're friends with, and we'll generate like 20 ideas. And it ends up being super frustrating because you're like, we're feeding you this like incredible idea. It doesn't even cost a lot to do, and if you do it right, like it could be like $1 million of like brand value, however you want to measure that. But it feels like you can give people these things that in your hands they might be $1 million ideas, but
poorly executed,
they're a negative value.
Yeah. Totally. I think it's like squeezing a balloon on two ends. Like there's the conceptual power and then there's the execution. There are things where like the concept is really high and the execution doesn't have to be crazy. You don't need a huge budget. It's just a good idea and it's going to work. What you typically see a lot of brands do is they're afraid of good ideas because good ideas have not been done by definition. So they lean more on the execution, and you see like large budgets and like huge bloated teams and production. So it's sort of like, now if you can dial in both, that's the magic, right? But that's really hard to do because more money, more risk. You want to de-risk on the concept side. John, to your question, I don't hire idea people. Everyone here is an idea person. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, we made handbags, right? They're very expensive. The smaller they get, the more expensive they become. So we made a microscopic handbag that sold at auction for $63,000 at Paris Fashion Week at Pharrell's whatever coronation of Louis Vuitton. That idea came from a summer intern. Anyone here can have an idea, right? The lawyer, our general counsel joins brainstorms, our ops lead joins brainstorms, because being creative doesn't mean you have good ideas. Being creative just means you're human. You have insights and you have reactions to things that are going around you. That's it. And then also, like, being creative means you're not afraid to like look stupid. And I think that's like a big defining trait here, because anybody can look stupid here, including myself.
What have you ever seen highly complex ideas work well as marketing, advertising stunts? This is something that we end up talking
I think
with.
David Ogilvy said, like, simple ideas are powerful ideas. That's certainly something I've seen in MSCHF's work throughout your entire career. But is there some sort of contrarian or nuance to that concept?
I think there could be. The line that we use here is, a good idea should slap in one sentence and then slap even harder in three. And that just means there are layers, right? Like, you appreciate it for the headline, but if you like really dig into it, you're like, wait up, is this thing making fun of me? And do I still like it? And am I going to buy it? And if I buy it, am I a chump or am I a patron of the arts, right? It's like, the layers are good. The ambiguity is good. But at the end of the day, like, from a marketing perspective, just being practical right now, like, people's attention spans are so low, and honestly, like, people are we're all like very distracted. So you don't have a lot of window to like nail it. So you do got to have that one-liner like pretty dialed in.
Yeah. How dialed in is your crystal ball when it comes to releasing new things on the internet? Like, do you feel like you usually have like a pretty accurate sense of how much attention something will get?
Do you get surprised?
Or do you still get surprised often?
Totally still get surprised. Like, you always get surprised. I think it's easy for us to fall in a comfort zone where we're like, oh yeah, like this will work, because what that ends up doing is you start coming up with ideas based on a framework of what has worked. So we actually put in a lot of effort to come up with formats and mechanisms that don't really fit into our existing framework, that we're like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. And is this offensive? I don't know. Are people going to buy slices of this giant foam baby that we're cutting up in Brooklyn? I don't know. They did. But no, you know, like,
is there a project that you think is like criminally underrated? People are obviously familiar with the boots; they're familiar with the shoes and the footwear stuff, and some of the other projects. But what's your example of a project that you're like, that's still like one of my favorites?
Good question. And the reason it didn't really get seen as much is because, to be honest, we were a little bit scared.
Okay.
And so we buried it in an art show that we did. But are you guys familiar with the paradox of the ship of Theseus?
Yes, but explain it for the listener.
Totally. So it's like, it's this old paradox where, imagine you have this like large wooden ship, and every day over 7 years, you're coming up with a new piece of wood identical to a piece of wood on the ship, and you are swapping it out. The question is, after 7 years, is it the same ship or is it a different ship? We found that a very interesting question, and so we decided to apply that in our own way to a sink located in the American wing of the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
As one does.
How did
As
you do
one
that?
does.
Yeah, explain.
And so we found the sink. We did recon. We not me. It wasn't me personally. It was somebody here. Names, but we found. We tracked down the serial numbers, the parts. Ordered exact like replica. We ordered the exact same parts, built it here, tied off the dimensions of the bathroom here so that we could practice swapping things out. And then over many months, we would walk into the Met and do a quick swap and leave. And then the next day, do it again and do it again, bolt by bolt, screw by screw.
Just an art enthusiast. I just like art, and I go to the bathroom. That's all. That's why I'm here.
Big. How'd you get the big piece through? Isn't there like one piece that's big?
So that we decided to leave.
Okay.
That one we did not swap out, although we had
a plan.
We fabricated a wheelchair that could have hit it in the seat. But I'm telling you, we got a little bit. We were honestly scared.
You got a little carried away.
We still did it. We got everything else, and so yeah, they have our sink and we have their sink, and ours is now part of like our art gallery. So
that's amazing.
Although I believe they figured it out and they've replaced it, because as soon as we announced the art show, even though the sink was sort of like hidden in all of the other pieces, people definitely found out, and there was a line in the Met for that bathroom.
They should have sectioned it off, turned it into an installation.
So if anyone out here, if any of your viewers are on the board of the Met, the coolest thing you could do right now is acquire that sink from us and put it back.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen, Army.
How many millions of dollars do you think you've left on the table by not doing crypto projects?
The painful question.
Is it like it has to be like 100 million? Like at least.
Yeah, probably. Honestly, probably. Yeah.
And is there like there? I'm sure at some point there will actually be a way to do this. Like there has to be something that makes sense. Like we did something back in the day with Party Round where we did. It was called Helpful VCs, where we made CryptoPunks for every VC, and then we put them on a website. And we said, you have 4 hours to retweet these, otherwise we're going to auction them off. And it was like, it's for like charity, right? We weren't like trying to make money. And that was like one of the ways that we broke through. And like shortly after,
I think there might be something to do with crypto and like stable coins where there's not as much gambling involved, but there might be something with crypto. I don't know.
Yeah. You have to make it not like a speculation, based
because
activity.
As soon as you leave the people who get the joke and then the people who don't get the joke show up and then they're losing their life savings, that doesn't feel good. Whereas like if somebody, is bidding on that handbag, like they probably know what they're doing. They understand that it's not this, and they understand that.
Look, I think that crypto route for us is, we've often plotted our own death. And I think there's like a chaotic, evil way to go out where you just pull that rug.
Yeah.
I shouldn't even be saying that because now everybody's going to know.
Everybody's going to know.
Well, I think switching gears to another topic that I'm sure you guys. So one, I don't think AI is going to take your guys' jobs anytime soon, despite it being able to maybe piece together random ideas. It's so much about taste and things like that. But how excited are you to leverage that technology for some of these various plays?
Honestly, TBD. And I think it's. I will say, like, unlike the whole like crypto craziness of the last couple of years, we didn't get into that because we didn't feel like it was here to stay yet. That's like the truth. Like when you see the herd run so fast, it usually means they're running towards the end of a cliff. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of a similar sentiment right now. That said, it is rooted in something real, but we're not in a rush to like use it necessarily, right? If it's going to be here forever, we've got time. Like MSCHF doesn't win as a first mover. If you look at all of our work, it was never about being the first to react to something or the first to like make use of a format. Yeah. So we'll see. We just have to see.
How do you think about, are there any projects, like time is an interesting variable that you can play with, right? Like part of the thing with the sync stunt that you guys did is just the narrative and the story of like, you guys were conducting this in secret for a long time. It was like and that's part of what makes it so entertaining is kind of like the lore of what went into it. But have you thought about even longer term plays, like things that you could do over a decade or 50 years that in hindsight would just be absolutely hilarious, and but again, take this sort of incredible planning.
Yeah. Honestly, we are at that stage of just like our lives and as a company now to be thinking like that, right? Because like if you think about it, we're entering.
Yeah, if you would, I know you guys have a few investors. If you told your investors, first thing we're working on is a 50-year stunt, and you're there to tell you like, all right, buddy, like, why don't you put some points on the board first?
Yeah.
But you guys, I feel like have earned it now. Like something like a decade.
No, yeah, because like we spent basically like we've only been around for the pandemic and like a little bit post-pandemic, right? And all of that was just like, you don't know what's coming, like live day by day, like just survive. Like banks are shutting down, okay, get through till tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And now we've been around for a second, we're more well known, we have our existing infrastructure, and now we really are asking the questions of like, okay, what does that legacy look like in 10 years? Or should we disappear for 20 years and then come back? That would actually be the coolest thing we could do, is go dark for 2 decades and then come back.
The banger.
It's worked for other artists.
Yeah.
Could you do something? So we both loved Nathan Fielder's latest sort of like aviation stunt television show.
I've heard a lot about it. I haven't watched it.
I mean, you should. It's one of the few people in the world that I think is executing on your guys' level, in the sense of
he's next level. No question.
Yeah, like one sentence, pitch that's hilarious, but then the more you get into it, like the funnier it is.
Better, yeah.
But could you do something like that for like the cost of housing, like that, like sort of a decade-long stunt? Like
I don't know.
MSCHF figures out a way to like reduce, cut the cost of housing in the United States.
I mean, that was crazy. Yeah.
Like if there are any like pricey neighborhoods that would love to commission us as an artist to install a sculpture, we have a really good trailer that we would love to erect in a public square that will drive.
I can just see like the right RV. Like there's this RV outside of our gym.
Yeah. Kind of yellow from the sun.
Yep.
Real,
like the windows open.
Aluminum on the outside. Yep. Yeah, Winnebago. It can be a stunt for Winnebago Corporation.
What do you? How do you feel about the state of social media, like broadly? Mm-hmm. It feels like we've gotten to a point where, in many ways, the platforms look so similar, but they also have their own character. Some of them are becoming Lindy, even thinking about how durable like Twitter and X have been despite all this change.
Yeah,
but what's your and do you feel like you need to use social media, or are you better off not using it and then just releasing, stuff on the platforms?
Yeah. It's definitely a love-hate relationship with the platforms, right? Because like platforms, if you really think about it, they started as a way to share things that you found were interesting, and now they are mostly ways to share photos and videos of you talking about things that you find interesting. It's kind of become like less novelty based and more vanity based. Mm-hmm. Just fine. That's like a fundamental human instinct, so I get it. I would continue to love to find a way to not use the platforms to disseminate information, and that's kind of how we started. Our first audience portal was Venmo. We had a huge audience on Venmo, and we like had this huge phone bank, like a Chinese phone click farm. And every time we had a new project, we would Venmo our audience a penny, and they would get that notification, because that's the most powerful notification layer in your phone.
The cha-ching.
Money, right? Yeah. I am now banned from Venmo for life.
Well, PayPal.
They want to work with Applied MSCHF. Let me know.
PayPal. We'll have the CEO of PayPal on.
I think the last company that came on works with Venmo. We'll work on it.
We should get this reversed. This is important. We were reading an article in the New Yorker yesterday about this concept of IRL brain rot. The examples were the viral
Labubu's.
Labubu's, Dubai chocolate, the viral Italian sandwich. We saw a few of these. Joe Weisenthal at Bloomberg was also writing about these kind of like viral as being something that you stamp on your product as a product feature almost. And I was wondering if you're worried about the spillover from internet slop culture into the real world, just kind of how you're tussling with this idea of brain rot coming into the real world. I don't even know if you read the article or you have thoughts there, but
I think I saw it on Instagram. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. You probably did a front-facing video talking about it, or you saw someone do a front-facing video talking about it.
Exactly. Reaction video.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it would. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but like what MSCHF has put out historically is kind of in that brain rot category.
Yeah, I mean the boots, right?
Yeah,
like it's
like absurd aesthetic, and maybe even I could be so conceited as to say we were part of creating that.
The meta.
Responsible.
No, you guys definitely that it was an era of minimalism, and it was like the Everlane era.
Quiet
and
luxury.
The boots are like it, an incredible reaction to that,
But
of being
absurd aesthetic, just like popping imagery off of your screen.
Yep.
But then the challenge with this trend, right, is if you go back to minimalism, it actually becomes. I mean, maybe as like for me, right, I became part of the MSCHF audience and MSCHF customer in my early 20s. I'm in my late 20s now. Eventually, maybe I'd want some ultra minimalist, MSCHF item for my home. But at the same time, like once you get on the maximalist track, like you're kind of on this maximalism treadmill where you just got to keep like going crazier and crazier. And maybe in the internet era, there's no turning back.
It's totally possible, right? Like we might have built a machine so effective that it's now our master. And like, how do you break free from that, right? But I'm not too worried. Like we actually don't think so hard about it. We just kind of make the things that we like. And then if it ever stops working, then
do something else. Figure it out.
Exactly.
Well, I have an idea to put out in the ether. I think next time an A-list celebrity is going through a massive comms crisis, PR crisis, or a scandal, they should hire you guys to create something more viral than the scandal.
They just need to do another crisis to compete with that. All they got to do is go to Twitter and be like, send a Bitcoin to this address and I'll send you 2 Bitcoin. And then they actually do it. They actually do it.
That's genius. Yeah, that is a one-time get out of jail free card. You heard it here first.
Just payoffs.
If you're a celebrity and you're in trouble, you're caught at a Coldplay concert. That's the only way you can reverse the tide.
You will be good. Yeah,
sure.
Free idea.
Sure.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
This is great. Yeah, thank you.
It's really great to get the update and just hear your so much clarity on all these different areas that we talk about all the time.
Yeah, we could talk for hours. So, we'd love to have you back whenever it makes sense.
Gabe and I kicked around an idea that we won't share now. We'll leverage that for your next appearance. I can't wait for it.
100%.
Let's do it.
Awesome.
I'll talk
Great to catch up.
Cool.
See you.
Cheers.